Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today at Get Connected. Get Connected is a 30-minute web conference series focusing on CU Answers management services, our brands, and the people who drive them. Today, I am joined by Thomas Hall and Annalyn Hawks. We were just talking about this at the Asterisk Intelligence team. So we have lots to talk about today, and we're glad you joined us. Today, you are on mute as we present the information today. So if you do have questions, please feel free to use the Q&A feature found at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So welcome. Thanks for joining me today, you two.
Thanks.
This will be fun because this is the first time we've had two people. So this should be fun. Challenge, right? So tell me about the Asterisk Intelligence team and what you do.
Well, sure. Well, we were founded last April, so we're about 15 months. We've been part of the CU Answers family, and we, generally speaking, we specialize in data strategies. I think our overall mission to bring to the network is to raise the data IQ of credit unions. A lot of our efforts are centered around teaching. We offer a ton of webinars. We're constantly teaching about dashboards and tools and customer reporting, and generally trying to get more credit unions actively engaged with their data, looking for ways to leverage that to add value to credit unions.
We separate that kind of those efforts into a couple of camps: data analytics and data warehousing. So data warehousing is more, let's get hands-on with data, let's actually think about data governance and where that data is going to live. And then data analytics is now what are we going to attempt to interpret and potentially gain some insights that could assist with making business decisions off of the data that you have in CU base and elsewhere too. So he talks about, getting a lot of teaching is a lot of what we do, and that's one of our pillars of data analytics. We have 5 pillars of data analytics: marketing, finance, operations, fraud, and audience. So that audience piece is that last effort that we think is the difference maker for our efforts and our tools and the different educational programs that we offer, because we're really just looking to expand the audience for data wider than, I guess, kind of the people who typically you reach out to and say, can you write me this report? And then all you get back is the final result. You want to be able to see more information faster, not just you, but your members and your board and your auditors and really anyone you can think of.
So I shouldn't really think of your team as a report writing team, right? Yeah. We can dig a lot deeper into the data, and I love that you use the words information intelligence. Can you describe that a little bit more, kind of go deeper into what that means to a credit union?
Sure. Well, when I think about the different information that's available in CU base and trying to get intelligent with it, it's all about kind of transforming raw data, which might just be a list of your members and product and service engagement. CU base writes out all these service enrollment dates and deactivation dates. And it's trying to get smarter with what you do with that information. First, it's raising awareness that that data exists. You have access to it. You're able to mine it. You're able to try to leverage that information. And then oftentimes it gets down to creativity, having the vision for how might this data add value to the credit union. What could I do with it? What type of reports could I build, or what business decisions might I make using this data?
Mm-hmm. Who typically uses this information?
It varies. Annalyn, your answer might be different. From my experience, it varies across credit unions, where, sometimes it's the C-level suite. I'm talking with CFOs and CEOs, especially more of your smaller credit unions. Then we've got the other spectrum, where some credit unions have developed BI teams. There's an Honor credit union, for example, and there's 4 or 5 others.
Okay, what does that mean?
BI is business intelligence,
okay.
which is a common buzzword that you'd use around data strategies. Would be a business intelligence team.
Okay.
So there are, within the CU Answers network, there's maybe about 4 to 5 credit unions that have established departments. They have business analytic teams, and those would be common people we would work with in those scenarios.
So before I get to the team and the structure of a team, what that might look like, tell me more about data governance, Annalyn, that you mentioned. You used the word data governance. What does that mean to a credit union?
Yeah, so for you, if you're watching this webinar, it may mean something a little bit different than the next guy down the road, but really ultimately, as far as the actual strategies you're using to manage data and define rules for data, and truthfully, a lot of that you rely on us to do for you as your core processor. So in data, working with data is input, calculations, and then output. And on that input side, in between input and calculations, there's storage, I guess you could say. We have to store it somewhere. And there's a lot of rules that go into taking data in and storing it in a way that is interpretable. So just basic things like we need to know if something is a number or a character string. Basic things like using naming patterns that allow you to group similar pieces of data together. So we're talking about getting really deep with data governance. You know, we're getting really granular. We're getting really technical. There's a data warehouse product we're building that is going to allow. It's not on the market yet as of the date of this webinar, but it's coming soon. It's going to allow you to sort of start to divert into some of your, I guess you maybe, or someone at your credit union is going to need to start thinking about some of those rules, because you are going to be feeding data into the system by uploading it to the data warehouse. Right now, you pretty much just go to a screen, type in some data. The screen allows you to put in what it can handle. You're going to get a little bit more flexibility in the future, so it's certainly something you need to be thinking about at your credit union if you want to take more of a hands-on DIY approach to data.
So I'm relieved that you talked about data governance as something that CU Answers really does for the credit union to a very large extent. That's a true statement. I'm relieved by that, because when I think of data governance and all the data that becomes available in CUBase as a user, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's just overwhelming. So it's really good to know that there's people on my side that can help me through that. Tell me a little bit about the warehouse. So in my mind, I think of a data warehouse as a place to store information. Is that place within CUBase? Do I access it from CUBase in the future?
Yes. So the data warehouse is going to be native to the core. It's going to be it's going to live inside CUBase. It's going to become a new environment in CUBase, and there will be some new authorities and permission levels that we will step you through in order to get access to the data warehouse. But really, what we're looking to do, I guess, big picture vision with the data warehouse is that we're looking to give you the opportunity to put data in from outside of CUBase. And what that means is it's putting it alongside your CUBase data. Now you have member data from somewhere else that you've been able to put inside CUBase and is accessible with the same query tools you're normally used to using to look at your existing member data. So we're just joining those two slices together, and now you have an expanded reach into what you can analyze about your members. And then the second angle is, of course, as a storage area, there may be some pieces of data that lives in CUBase already, certain pieces of information about a member or about products, about accounts that you have, and you want to keep it longer than we normally have set. Again, data governance, we have a standard retention period that we've defined for certain data sets. If you want to keep data longer, again, sort of the DIY, I have my own plan for how I want to use data approach, then the data warehouse is going to be a place where you can choose to store some of that information.
So I'm excited. It sounds like as a data warehouse, I can take information that I might have obtained from a third party, a partner that I work with, or a part of my business that I might have, and marry that to my member data and really be able to dig deeper into what that member experience might be like for whatever purpose I might have. Is that sound like I'm on the right track with that? Yeah. Good. Well, that's exciting. I think that's really going to take the credit union's use of data and really put it, I like to use the words on steroids, right? It's really just push it forward and really allow a different view into what we might be seeing in the member world. So I think that's wonderful. You talked about a team, a BI team, business intelligence or an analytics team approach that some credit unions use. If I were to do that, what would that look like?
Sure. Well, I like the approach you take is going to vary based on what you're looking to get out of your team. I think the starting point, you almost want to start with the end goal. A logical starting point is to centralize report writing. You mentioned we're not a report writing team, but that is kind of a first step of creating economies of scale by centralizing that task and creating those subject matter experts. That was a starting point for several of the teams that we've worked with, and then they've grown out from there. You can get into predictive analytics is one direction you can go into. You could get into your own, we would consider it a internal data warehouse, which would be a credit union managed data warehouse versus the CU Answers managed one. That's another logical direction to take. But it all comes down to internal efficiencies. Maybe finding bottlenecks within your own operations, whether it's your lending workflow or marketing workflow, and then leveraging the skill sets of your BI team to create efficiencies within those operational flows.
So these people may not necessarily need to be all about the data, right?
Correct.
Even though that they're going to be using data to help steer and make decisions, what I'm hearing, they don't necessarily have to have that experience with the data to get from A to B.
Yeah.
Right? That's good. I never knew that. Thank you. So yeah, that was the biggest question in my mind. What does this all mean when a credit union wants to put one like that, a team like that together? What would that mean?
Curiosity, I think, is the biggest trait that the individual needs. Is you need to be data curious. You want to know where it lives. Where is it stored? What can I do with it? You need to have that person who wants to dig and find the answers to those questions.
And understanding your tool set. A curious person is going to say, what is the best way to accomplish my goal of discovering this piece of information, or compiling multiple things together and use it to help make a decision. Understanding your tools is going to be able to move you a lot quicker toward that goal. I always give the example sometimes, if you're most familiar with Excel, but you're not very good at Excel yet, it will take you a lot longer to copy and paste individually down a bunch of cells instead of highlight them all and paste. So that's where we can assist with a lot of those CU-based tools, the dashboards, the analytics booth, with the web platform outside of CU-based, and some other things that are in CU-based. That's certainly where we can assist with help and training.
So it sounds like a good place to start would be to attend some of your web conference programs that you have to just really learn all the information that's available and how specific users might accomplish the goal using that information. Tell me about your web conferences. How many do you have? How would I connect? How do I learn more?
Sure. Well, I like the first event we need to talk about is our AI week.
Yep.
So we do have a AI week scheduled in September. So that is our Asterisk Intelligence Week.
Lots of acronyms.
We do have lots of acronyms. So our team, Asterisk Intelligence, is just a week centered around data in our team. We will be the primary facilitators during that event, and we're just going to talk data strategies, talk about the resources you have access to, query training, and really just a whole week centered around data. And we're going to end up doing in 2019. We're scheduling those classes right now. We've been trying to pick dates and so forth. We will have 4 different AI weeks throughout the 2019 calendar year. So look for those, and that's a great way to interact with our team and to learn the resources that you have available. A starting point that we typically like to start with is know the tools that you have access to before you try to start from scratch and recreate the wheel. So that's a big part of the education that we do of learning the current tool sets before we expand outside of that.
So AI Week, is that here at CU Answers, or is that web conference?
So it is, it's really a 4-day event, and 3 days are in person, and 1 day is a web-only day.
Okay. Talk about dashboards. I love dashboards. It's one of my favorite things to dig into in CU-based. But tell me about how you would dig into a dashboard. Do you offer training?
Yeah, that's another one. We actually have a weekly dashboard dive session where every week, Thursdays at 3 o'clock, we will pick one tool, and we'll spend about 30 minutes doing a deep dive into that tool. We'll talk about, data retention periods, how much history do you have access to within the tool. We'll mention ideas of how to use it to create value to the credit union, and really, study and learn that one tool. I think that's a great starting point to just look at one dashboard with us on a Thursday, and a lot of those concepts can be carried over into other related tools.
Sure. What else is out there for training?
So we've done one-on-one training with Analytics Booth. Analytics Booth is a different tool that we haven't talked about very much yet, but it's definitely one of the ones that I bet you probably have. If you don't have a user profile, if you're watching this webinar and you don't have a user profile, your credit union might have the tool. It's a subscription-based service, and that just means that You're paying for us to collect the data every month, and it supports historical trending of a lot of the dashboards that we have. It's not a lot, but because we have 93, and it actually only has 10 in analytics booth at the moment. But we're about to put 3 more in analytics booth, and there is 73 individual data points that are trended through that platform. So when you get in there, it can be a lot to look at first. So we do schedule training when you're a new user, if you're a credit union signing up for it as a new subscriber, or if you've had it for a while and now you're just getting into it as a new person using it, you can certainly reach out to us and ask for that. We have a product as well right on our store that is specific to working with boards to teach them how to use analytics booth and kind of the value you can get out of it. So that's one angle. That's, again, right back circling to the beginning on the concept of expanding the audience of data. Analytics booth is a place where there's no sensitive member data. It's all online. It's a lot easier to get, an audience like your board into a platform like that than it is, to give them their own individual CU-based ID. Okay. So that's another product I think we spend a lot of time talking to credit unions about.
Yeah, I like that product because to me it's very robust. Yes. You give a lot of information and a lot of really great features that go along with that information, but it's not overwhelming to folks who might be new to the system or to the program. So you can certainly get a really good understanding of what's happening inside your credit union immediately, right? And without having the interference of all those other tools available, which I call it interference, but they're wonderful. It's just that I don't always use them, right? So I want to have the ability to access my data quickly, and that's what that can do for you.
There's a couple other, I guess, maybe resources, educationally speaking, that I can think of right now. One thing I know we get asked for a lot is query training. So individuals who are looking for either kind of next level, you dabble in a little bit, but you're looking for some next level tips, or just starting out from scratch. And we have pre-recorded webinars of sort of Report Builder 1, 2, and 3 all the way through to sort of set you with a baseline. And those are recorded, but we also offer them throughout the year in the Asterisk Intelligence, or not the Asterisk Intelligence, the CU Answers education catalog. And it's part of Asterisk Intelligence Week. So there are many opportunities as far as I'm concerned.
So it kind of reminded me as you were talking about this, one of the questions I wanted to ask was, where would a new user, where would they start? And I think you answered that a lot already, a lot of the on-demand webinars, starting with query, touching base with your teams and scheduling time, using the dashboard, dashboard dive series, and then the AI week that you offer. But how did you guys learn?
It's interesting. So we both have very different backgrounds. I've been with CU Answers about 8 years. My background is more in our accounting department. And so, I was definitely a data-oriented employee. I've always been focused on data and trying to leverage it and trend it. And I did a lot of financial analysis and expense analysis in the accounting department. And, a lot of those skills are able to transfer into new roles. Data is data for the most part. It's all numbers, and they all tie out the same.
Rows and columns.
Rows and columns, what it typically boils down to. So that's my background. I know your background is very different.
So mine was very CU-based heavy with the marketing tools, but also we did a lot of, my background is at Extend on the business support team. And one of the things that you do learn over there is query. So that's really where I started. I did not start so much with the analytics booth and dashboard. I went straight into the raw data right there with query, because in marketing you do a lot of, that's one of our pillars of data analytics is marketing right there. You do a lot of sort of analyzing your membership to try to find target audiences for certain offers or promotions. And then after any communication effort is done, typically there's effort put toward, tracking the outcome, the impact of the communications that you just sent out. So there was a lot of strategic thinking as far as that goes, a lot of analysis indirectly. I think at the time we recognized that's what we were doing, but hadn't yet sort of defined it as marketing analysis. And so it was really cool, and it was really interesting when the focus, I guess, back before April, before we got, when all the discussion was happening of do we start a team called Asterisk Intelligence or not. looking around, taking inventory of where do we do data analytics, and sure enough, there's a resource in finance and accounting right there, and then there's a marketing analytics happening right at Extend, and they're still doing some of that as well. So it's absolutely interesting how it's not necessarily one specific style of person you need to find to do data analytics. Yeah, you can find someone from anywhere. Again, as long as you have a curious mind.
Well, I have to say, you guys were talking about that, and I was thinking in my mind how pleased I am that you sit across from me. So, folks, and what I'm getting at is, if you're watching the web conference today, is treat these two as though they're sitting next to you. Pick up the phone and call or schedule a web conference individually and really dig into what it is that they're doing and ask a lot of questions and get curious with it. If it's something that you're doing and you say, now what? That's a good time to call. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely plug into those resources, because resources is, like I said, it's across the row, and Thomas, now I'm standing up. Thomas, right? Because there's so much that they can do, and they're very talented resource for us. So thank you for that. Tell me a little bit about how you stay current on all the new rollouts that are happening and learning this new information and what that means to you. How do you stay current, and what would you tell a credit union to do?
Well, staying current on technology is easier said than done.
Yeah,
it is not an easy thing to do. For me, I'm sure we've got different approaches. For me, it's reading. I'm always looking at different, there's websites that I go to, there's different vendors. I look at competitors. I'll look and see what other competitors are offering and try to compare what we have and the direction we're going versus what some other industry options are. I think it comes down to reading is my ultimate answer of how to stay on top.
And I would add, I subscribe to a lot of email lists.
I do too.
So various organizations out there that work with data analytics or with credit unions and, credit unions, tactics or strategies, whether it's marketing or operations or whatever. I like to read, and so it turns into a lot of reading. Receive a lot of emails, and I click the articles that feel like they make sense. There is a couple of conferences that have dealt with sort of working with data and analytics that are credit union or bank or just financial industry in general that I was able to find on YouTube. So those were very interesting, just sort of have up and playing while I'm working a little bit. And then when it comes to CU-based software itself, you can't go any further. You can go further. You can reach out and ask us about something you see in the release summary, but the very first place you should always start, and hopefully you're watching already, is for emails that send you the release summary. So we do outline everything that happens, that launches into CU-based as a new product, and we have 1807 just happened a couple weekends ago, and we have a couple new dashboards out even. And some other
That's an exciting release. Right?
Yeah.
And if you're not getting those emails that Annalyn referred to, reach out to me or to Annalyn or Thomas, and we can make sure that you are subscribed to that list so that you are receiving the most current information. And stay tuned for Tricks of the Trade emails too. That's another great resource that summarizes what's happening in a release so you can get all the most current information. We're running out of time. Oh my gosh, I have to talk fast. So let's see. I really want to know, and this is a really popular question that folks want to know, is what personally drives your passion for analytics?
Ooh, well, for me, I think it's all about, I guess, the journey. When I'm asked for a question, I'm asked a business question. To me, it's a fun journey to take. Where does that data live? How am I going to get there? What do I need to do to be successful here? And I think that path that you take to find that end goal and find that hidden little piece of actual insight that is going to add value to the credit union is very rewarding. Not only the path you take to get there, but then actually once you follow through and you deliver that little nugget of information you're looking for, it's a very rewarding experience.
Yeah, so I think probably the same, if you break it down, it's probably the same answer, but to put it shortly for me, it's making the unknown known. And all of the learning and the skills and the work that I have to do in between is the journey, yes. And so I take pride in I personally want to constantly be learning a new tool, learning a new skill, learning a new strategy. There's a new product coming out nearly every day, it feels like. So I'm learning the new data that goes with that product. and coming up with new ways, because I know someone's going to be interested in doing reporting on it, and so for analytics on it as well, and so they're going to be reaching out to me. So that's sort of the learning experience, the fact that we are constantly learning, and then just the fact that I can take a wide amount of information and compile it down into creating something that is known out of what was formerly an unknown. You ask the question and you want to know the answer, and I enjoy the process of going and finding it.
Don't you guys love the curiosity that these two have? I love it.
You get this overwhelming hat on,
I know.
Yeah.
I love that about you two. I think it's wonderful, and I love the spirit. Like you've been talking about the spirit of curiosity, right? I think alongside of that was generosity for you two. You're very generous people and just very giving of your time, and so plug into that resource is what I'm getting at. So before we go, I want to make sure that folks are aware of two things. One is your blog spaces, because they're wonderful tools. Tell me about what that is for credit union.
Yeah. So, you mentioned our 5 pillars, and one of that is expanding the audience for data. And we thought, what better way than try to create as many ways as possible to interact with us and read and follow along. So we both have blogs, and Keegan is our department manager, Keegan Daniel. He also has a blog. So we have a lot of blog resources available. I think they're linked in all of our signature lines. If you have any emails with us, we'll have a link to our blog site. And they're really designed to just give you, let you follow along with our journey. We might have a fun client interaction that ends up being the inspiration behind a blog post. We'll try to share that experience through a written blog that you can read offline, or if you're having trouble sleeping one night, it's a great resource for that. But no, the blogs, yeah, they are. That's a joke. But the blogs are a great way to follow along and just kind of keep a pulse on types of projects that we're working on.
They're very fun to write as well. You have something come up, like you said, an interesting conversation or a new strategy I just learned. I'm really excited, and I want to share, the back end of how I got to that rather than just, go and document real quick. It's fun.
Yeah.
To have that added.
Kind of a conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of fun to get inside of your heads and see a little bit about what's happening, and it's just a fun way to participate with you.
Yeah.
So tell me, before we go, we have 2 more minutes, so take 1 minute. Tell me about who are your mentors here? Could be in the building or not.
Go ahead.
Well,
let me think about it.
So cheating.
No, I would say, from my background being in Extend, one of my mentors has been Liz Winter. She has put a lot of drive and vision toward some of the analytics efforts that they're doing. And, I think that I spend more time, I guess it's hard to say. I don't want to say they're a mentor because it's a whole group, but I learned so much talking to the programmers, the people who are working in programming language with the raw data all day as well. Individually, it's probably a different takeaway I get from each person, but as a team, they are also so generous with their time and being willing to talk to me and teach me about the database that they work with every day.
Wonderful.
So I don't know if a team can qualify.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. The first name, as you were beginning, the programming team is the first team that came to my mind as well. They are such a wealth of information and a resource for us. When we hit a wall and there's a question that we don't know the answer to, they are, the best way for us to take that next step, go deeper, look at the source code behind CBase, and actually figure out.
Understand it.
You have to understand the back end of what that dashboard is displaying, or these filters that the user might not have access to see. The tools that they have access to are just amazing.
Wonderful. Well, guys, our time is already up. I can't believe it's half hour has gone by. I hope you guys listening have had as much fun as I have today. It's been really great visiting with you. So thank you for joining me. Thank you, all of you, for joining us here at Get Connected. We hope to see you again next month. Have a great day.